And you're staying with me as we move closer to the Middle East, here to Israel. Mayor Javedanfar, thank you very much for being with us tonight.
Thank you.
Well, now, yesterday, UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon drew a stern rebuke from Jerusalem for saying that it was human nature for Palestinians to resist the occupation. Prime Minister Netanyahu slammed Ban's statements and said they lend support to terrorism. It comes on the heels of reports that France is planning a security summit which would bring together Netanyahu and Palestinian leader Mahmoud Abbas. Yes, and now for more, we're joined by Yesh Atid party leader and former finance minister Yair Lapid. Mr. Lapid, good evening. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Mr. Lapid, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said that the UN chief's statements provide momentum to terrorism. Do you agree with this assertion?
Yes, completely. I think what the chairman said is unacceptable, not to any or every Israeli, but also to any or every UN member. This is a justification for terror. This suggests, what the chairman said, suggests that there is a possibility to justify terror, that there is some way of explaining why terror acts are being conducted, aside from just the insanity of terror itself. So this is unacceptable, and I agree with the Prime Minister. Is there a reasoning behind the idea of stabbing a woman who's 5 months pregnant, like we had last week? Is there a reasoning behind killing Daphne Meir, the mother of 6, just last week? Is there any way you can justify or explain it? I don't think so.
So do you believe the government is doing enough to combat the wave of terrorism in Israel, or would you do things differently?
Well, listen, I will not criticize the Israeli government. I'm part of the opposition, but I will not criticize the Israeli government on international television because it is something, it's just not done. I will say the following. It is a long journey. It takes time. Fighting terror is endless. And the Israeli security forces are doing whatever is necessary, and they have the full support of the entire people of Israel, coalitions and opposition alike.
Well, Prime Minister Netanyahu has attributed the current round of violence to Palestinian incitement, but some in the defense establishment say the motives are more complex. What do you believe is the major factor?
Well, my suggestion is instead of looking from the outside in, let's look from the inside. Just 2 days ago, the terrorists who attacked and killed Daphne Meir in Beit Horon, at Niel last week, said in his interrogation, he said, I watched Palestinian television and decided I want to kill a Jew. And he went there and killed this wonderful, wonderful mother, who's the mother of 6, 2 of them foster children, just because of what he saw on Palestinian television. So instead of talking to people who are saying, I'm the expert on this, why don't we all listen to the people who are committing these horrible crimes?
Well, on the international front, France is reportedly planning a conference that would bring together Premier Netanyahu and Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas. Are you optimistic about the prospects?
Well, I've been talking about the idea of a regional conference or regional summit for quite a long time now. I presented it to the people of Israel last September, saying we should go regional on the solution, on the two-state solution. So everything that is promoting regional dialogue, I think is a good idea. On the other hand, looking at the players and the kind of bad blood between them, actually literally, I would say cautiously that I think this is really, really premature to discuss the possibilities of the success of this move.
So would you say at this point that internationalizing negotiations instead of Israel and the Palestinian Authority negotiating one-on-one is the way to move forward on the peace process?
Yes. I don't know specifically about this move, but we had 11 bilateral rounds since the Oslo Accords. They all failed miserably. I was part of the last one, so I'm I know what I'm talking about. So I think what we need is a regional conference that will lead to a regional process, and through this process we need to do our best to separate from the Palestinians. It's time for these two nations not to get married but to get a divorce, to be able to separate from each other and from the agony and pain the current situation is causing for both nations.
Yes, well, Yesh Atid party leader and former finance minister Yair Lapid, thank you very much for joining us tonight. Well, Amir Oren, what do you make of Lapid's very interesting statements tonight with us?
Are you sure this is a leader of the opposition and not a member of Netanyahu's coalition?
So we are told.
Because he sounded as if he was already a member of the government. Now, it's very strange to hear a politician who made his fame and fortune in television wishing for the time where there was no television, no Palestinian Authority television, and at that time, obviously, all of the Palestinian teenagers would have stayed home or gone to school and never would have thought of attacking and killing an Israeli settler in a settlement adjacent to their village.
We'll make it clear for those who don't understand. You're being cynical, of course.
Of course, I'm being cynical because Lapid is being cynical because Ban Ki-moon has stated the obvious. And by the way, Netanyahu contradicts himself. One day he says that Israel's position worldwide is wonderful. He just came back from Davos. Everybody hugged him and cheered him up, and he found out that Israel's foreign policy is very successful. The next day, the #1 diplomat in the world, the Secretary General of the United Nations, comes out with such a statement, which, by the way, means that Netanyahu's ambassador to the United Nations, Danny Danon, has not done a good enough job. And then Netanyahu attacks the messenger and the message rather than analyze the situation which brought them about.
Well, Amir, stay with me as we have some good news for Netanyahu, at least supposedly. Greek leader Alexis Tsipras and his entire cabinet are in Israel today ahead of a three-party summit in Cyprus on Thursday that will focus on natural gas cooperation between the three countries. In a joint press conference, Israel's premier had this to say.
Over the last few years, Greece and Israel have greatly upgraded the scope and the diversity of our cooperation. And in this G2G meeting, we'll take further steps to strengthen this partnership in diplomacy and defense, in cybersecurity, counterterrorism, in economics, trade, energy, and innovation. Energy also includes not merely discussing the possibilities of using our offshore gas, but also connecting Israel, Cyprus, and Greece with an electricity cable.
Amir, was I right? Good news for Netanyahu?
Well, it can be summed up in 5 words. The first word is gas, and the other 4 is Turkey out, Greece in. Whenever the Turkish-Israeli relationship is on the rocks, the Israeli-Greek one is on the gas.
But isn't Israel and Turkey now negotiating? At least that's what we hear.
If the time comes when Erdogan decides that he does want to renew relations and bring them back to the time before the Mavi Marmara incident in May of 2010, then perhaps Israel will reassert its ties with Greece. But even then, it's good to have a Greek aside, even when you deal with a Turk.
And it's good to have you with us, as always, Amir Oren.
Thank you
very much. And now next on our headlines, as mentioned, tomorrow Israel, Greece and Cyprus will hold a summit in Nicosia to discuss how best to exploit natural gas deposits in the Mediterranean. The discovery of huge reservoirs of the resource has already had a tremendous geopolitical impact on the region, as I-24 News diplomatic correspondent Tal Shalev shows in the next piece.
In a stormy and unstable Middle East, positive talk about cooperation and partnership is a rarity. However, a new regional alliance appears to be emerging in which stability, development, common interests, and coordination are the key words. Welcome to the East Mediterranean neighborhood. In the past 7 years, natural gas discoveries in the territorial waters of Israel, Cyprus, and Egypt have made the Mediterranean Sea one of the most economically trendy areas in the world. Oil and gas companies are touring the region, spending a lot of money to see if they can make more. But they have also prompted hope of overcoming traditional geopolitical divides.
The gas for itself will not change the geopolitics of the Middle East. But gas is part of some factors that might change the Middle East geopolitics situation, and Israel as center, its center gravity might move from one side to another. Because if you look at the Middle East today, everything is changed. Collapse of countries, diminishing of rulers, and so on and so forth. Israel is an anchor of stability in this area. If you connect to this stability the effectiveness of the Gaza relation, which allow Israel to build a network of interest with other countries in the region, that might change the center of gravity of the capabilities of Israel.
The Israeli natural gas basin has been under large scrutiny, and the regulatory framework for the deal was held in limbo by the antitrust authorities, giving the government a huge political headache. Only in November 2015 did the government get an all-clear to its development. However, it has led to a flurry of diplomacy between the new potential energy players. Thursday, the Israeli Prime Minister will be meeting his Greek and Cypriot counterparts in Nicosia for a first-ever tripartite meeting, bringing the diplomatic renaissance between the countries to a point of culmination.
It's about necessity. It's about reality. Cyprus, Israel, and Greece are countries in this crucial neighborhood. We have to cooperate for security reasons, for political reasons, for economic reasons, and for energy as well.
Cyprus and Greece used to be among Israel's biggest European critics, but today they seem to believe cooperation with Israel can promote their interests. At a time of growing European pressure vis-à-vis the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, Greece and Cyprus are Israel's new best friends. Greece has decided not to follow the EU's directive to label settlement products, and both countries are stepping up their support of Israel in the hostile European Union.
These two countries will not change their policy again. Cyprus, too, is a member of the European Union, and but it'll be good. It's any time that, you know, our leaders meet with foreign leaders and so on and so forth. It's a good thing, especially at this time when so many others want to boycott us or etc. So it's good to show that we are strong in the region, that we have allies. All these things are very good especially from a public relations point of view.
One of the key factors that accelerated the new East Med alliance was the deterioration in Israeli-Turkish relations since the 2010 Mavi Marmara incident. Greece, Cyprus, and Israel all shared a mutual enmity towards Turkey. However, as Jerusalem and Ankara are making steps towards rapprochement, the geopolitical game in the East Med is becoming more complicated. Despite the political estrangement, Turkey is the potential natural gas big customer.
This is always the fear in Greece. They always asked me, and what if Israel gets together with Turkey again? Will this destroy our new relationship that has started around 2010, this dramatic change in the relationship? And we used to say, and I sort of believe in it, that right now the relationship with Greece and Cyprus is strong enough. It stands on its 2 feet, on its 2 own feet. So hopefully it can survive a rapprochement.
I don't connect the improvements of the relations between Israel and Turkey directly with the solution of the Cyprus problem. But I can say that if we reach a solution of the Cyprus problem, and at the same time we have improvements in the relations between Israel and Turkey, this gives a lot of other options for the energy sector of Israel and Cyprus. And this is something that we have to have in mind.
Other players also have interest in the new East Med energy hub. The proposition of exporting the gas to Europe and decreasing the continent's dependence on Russian gas could make the emerging basin a real game changer.
It is a clear message from European experts and members of NATO that they have very strong interest on that strong alliance. They want to see their Mediterranean wing less polarized, more stable, more connected, that they can trust and concentrate all their efforts fighting the Islamic extremist people like ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and so on and so forth. So no question that if we succeed to build this network of 2 or even 3 circles with our neighboring countries, with Greece, Cyprus, and maybe Italy, and later on with Turkey, no one will be more happier than the European Union and NATO.
The offshore gas bonanza is yet to materialize. There are a lot of obstacles to overcome in order to achieve a concrete energy project. Nevertheless, Jerusalem is hoping that whatever lies underneath these waters could change the balance of power in the region.